Lords, I rise to offer Green support for all three of these amendments, but in the interests of time, I'm just going to make two brief remarks about 463 and 465. On 463, I agree with all the contributions made thus far, but they're focused particularly on the relationship and sex education part of this. And I think it's also important we focus on the PSHE element of that. This is education about the financial sector and managing personal finances, something there's general agreement about is a real shortage of. This is education about physical and mental health, and I cross-reference the Noble Lady Baroness Gray-Thompson's amendment earlier about the importance of physical literacy in particular. And also, of course, it's about rights and responsibilities. And we have to note that with votes at 16 now being government policy and coming in this direction, it's surely important that we're providing education about voting, about our political system, to young people in our further education system. And I'd further point that sometimes people say to me when I say, oh, we need the education, they say, well, that's an argument against votes at 16. Well, I'm afraid I think 16-year-olds are as well as informed about our political system as 60-year-olds. And they all need more information and more education, and educating 16 and 17-year-olds will also provide information that will disseminate out into the general community through their family, their friends, their colleagues in the workplace, etc. Just briefly on 465, I want to respond directly to the Noble Lord, Lord Weir, who I think suggested there was something odd about the idea that the Noble Lady Baroness Burt had twice brought private members' bills, and I have spoken in support of both of those private members' bills, and that this was now being put forward as an amendment to a government bill. I would say that it is a very well-trodden path for... No,
I didn't. I was simply pointing out, with respect, in case there was any misunderstanding, that this was effectively a transposition on it. I didn't suggest this was some sort of irregular route or something wrong with that. I did point out, I think, that clearly, if it's part of this, that it won't have gone through the same level of consultation as the rest of the bill in that regard. But I didn't suggest this was some sort of oddly trodden path in that regard, in case there's any misunderstanding on that.
I thank the Noble Lord for that clarification, and of course what the Noble Lord just said applies to any amendment that your Lordship's House inserts into a government bill. Just a couple of points. The argument for this Amendment 465 has already been powerfully made, but we're talking about a law that's dating back to 1944. This is a 20th century arrangement for the 21st century that simply, as others have said, doesn't fit our society anymore. I'll note that there was a poll in 2024 that said that 70% of school leaders wanted to get rid of this current legal arrangement. And just on the point about alternatively moral, spiritual and cultural development, we hear from all sides of your Lordship's House regular lamenting about how much cultural education we have lost from our current system and how much lack of space there is to fit into the curriculum things like cultural activities and cultural learning. This is one way to create a little more space for something that's pretty well universally agreed as being essential.